This is Shabbos Daf Lamed Tes. We're talking about what an animal could go out with on Shabbos, what an animal cannot go out with on Shabbos. We said something was to protect the animal from mating, and that was called a kavus. Ravun B'Shem Chia, he explains it. He says, "Vayikra lahem eretz kavul," and he called the cities kavul, the land of kavul. Why? Because eretz she'eina isa peiros, because they do not produce peiros. So therefore, we see that kavul and kavus that has to do with not procreating. Rabbi Yehuda says something new. Who yizim yotzos tzura rois liyavesh, goats may go out with tied others to dry their milk, but not to collect the milk. So Tani would turn the brisa. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says, "Bein liyavish," whether it's to dry it out, bein l'chalav for the milk, aser it's aser. So Yaos Amar Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira has spoken well. What's the reason Rabbanon? It wasn't Milchsei Rabbanon. It was actually Rabbi Yehuda who said it. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira is now challenging the paskening of Rabbi Yehuda. And the question is now, what did Rabbi Yehuda? Why did Rabbi Yehuda say there's a difference between going out tied and going out to dry and going out tied to collect? Rabbi Yasi Rabbi Ba B'Shem Rabbi Yehuda. So now we can explain Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira's view. Rabbi Yechanan Matei Ba B'Shem Rav. Halacha kedivrei mi shehu aimer bein liavash bein l'chalav aser. The halacha is, according to the one who says, whether or not it's to dry it out, whether or not it's to collect the milk, it's aser. We did not end up answering the question of what does original Manda Amar say, Rabbi Yehuda, what does he say regarding the fact that there's a difference? Obviously, according to him, there's a difference as follows. Number one is if it's tied to dry out, he allows it because he feels like you're not going to remove the ties. And since no one looks underneath the animal, therefore it doesn't look like it's a burden. However, if it's tied to help collect the milk, then it looks like A, it looks like a burden, and B, it might be something that he might want to adjust or collect if it's loosening, and he might then carry it in Rishus HaRabim, or between Rishuyos, may bring in the milk from Rishus HaRabim to Rishus HaYachid. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira is saying, I don't see a difference. And according to them, now we're going to finish up the Gemara. The Gemara says, Mishum mi meithis. How could one cast lots? How could one know the reason for one, the reason for the other? This one is good, that one's not good. It's based like a lottery. It's like just choosing arbitrarily. They don't understand the difference in Svara. And therefore they say both of them are Aser. Zogt halacha gimel. What may animals not go out with? Now they cannot go out with these things. Lo yetze hagamel bam tuletes, with them tuletes. We're going to see what that is in a second. Lo akud v'lo ruggle. Not akud and not ruggle. And the Gemara is going to explain, and I'll explain exactly what that is. The chen shar kol behema. And so too all the behemoths shouldn't go out with them with tuletes, or with akud, or with ruggle. La yikshar gemalim zeb zev v'yimshaych. One may not tie camels to each other and to pull them. So in other words, now you can have a string of animals, one tied to the other, and I have a line of animals. Aval machnes chavolim l'soich yad v'yimshaych. But he may gather ropes in his hand and pull each animal with its own ropes. You can have like 10 animals and 10 different ropes. As long as it's not wrapped around. And we can see what wrapped around means. Wind the rope. Either it's around his hand or around the animal's neck. We're going to see what that means. The Gemara is going to explain. And it cannot go through less. What is that? Kahada, kipa, shtehi, meshavye, givinosa. It's like a dome, and it evens out the camel's humps, and therefore it allows that packages or something, or a rider could go on top of it. And obviously no one's going on top of her now, or no package is going on top of her now, but it's something normal that a camel has tied to it. But this is not normal for it to walk around always when it's just willy-nilly, so therefore it looks like a burden, and therefore on Shabbos it's not allowed. What is akad, what is ruggle? Over here it says akad is one leg and ruggle is two legs. In the Bavli it says something different. In the Bavli it actually says that akad is the two legs, and ruggle is when the leg is bent and it's tied around the knee. So it's tied around the knee and the leg is bent, and now it has to hobble when it walks. So therefore, if that's the case, what does it mean, Akud is 2 legs. So it says Akud Akedas Yitzchak. It's bound. It seems to be bound like Akedas Yitzchak. But that's only if you learn that Akedas Yitzchak means bound. But then again, if 2 legs are bound, like 1 leg is bound, if 2 legs are connected by the ankles, let's say, or by the knees, like the 1 leg, and all this is meant to stop the animal from going, so then you have a situation where an animal can't even walk. When an animal has 2 legs bound, it can't walk. And how do we know this? Because the Gemara goes further. The Gemara says, 1 second, we also know that akud is both legs, both hands to both forelegs to both hind legs, and ruggle is just 1 or both forelegs. So how's it possible for an animal to move when both of its forelegs are bent and tied at the elbow? And how's it possible for an animal to move when both forelegs are tied to the hind legs? So how can an animal go out? We're talking about an animal walking on Shabbos, an animal doing a burden. None of this proves that it's a burden if you learn it, that it means tied to each other. The Gemara doesn't say tied to each other. It just says 2 legs or 1 leg, and it says akud. It doesn't use the word tied. Tied is all Rashi and other Mefarshim saying what's going on with the legs. But again, if they're tied, they're not going out. That's not how you go out. You can't go out on Shabbos with your legs tied. Plus, how could the Bavli be so different than the Yerushalmi? The Yerushalmi is saying akud is 1 and ruggle is 2. There it's saying akud is actually the forelegs bound to the hind legs and ruggle is just the 1. How could it be so different? So really the answer has nothing to do with tying whatsoever. It has to do with a marking. Akud, like Nakuda, like when the sheep that Yaakov were breeding for Lavan were akudim. Akud means marked or striped. So what's going to happen is that you have camels go out or animals go out with ropes around their legs, marking them as with an owner, like a tag, sort of like a tag. So that's what akud means. It's either an adornment, right? Either an adornment, but that adornment is a siman for owner, or it's literally a tag showing this who it belongs to. And the Gemara is saying akud, either it's only done on 1 leg, or ruggle, or it's done on multiple legs. It also could be a string or rope is tied, ruggle, from both hind legs, so that while the camel could walk, but it's loose enough that it can't run. If it tries to run, then it'll be blocked because the string, the rope is on both hind legs, and as it tries to run, then it's going to be impeded. So that'll prevent it from running away. But it goes out normally like this during the week and on Shabbos because the owner wants to prevent it from running away or to show who ownership is. However, the Mishnah is learning these are burdens. Having these extra simonim on them, on their legs, is considered burdens, and therefore that's not really what a camel or other beast animals should go out with. The Gemara Bavli now makes sense because now when akud is talking about 2, so it means it's 2 of the 4 legs. Both forelegs are marked, not just 1. It doesn't have only 1. It means specifically if it's on both of them. If it's 1, it's not such a burden. But if it's 2, then it could be a burden. So the Bavli is being a little bit more makel than the Yerushalmi and saying you need to put these adornment bracelets on the animal. 1 is okay, but 2 would not be okay. However, when it's ruggle is a string tied either to both hind legs or also to both forelegs, and that's what the machlokes and the Bavli is about. How does that apply to Akedas Yitzchak? Because Yitzchak was marked as a carbon. Every carbon gets marked. The Talmud carbon gets marked because we want to know which other 2 animals to be brought for a Talmud every single day. So they get tied with similar strings to identify them. Other animals, when they're designated for Hegdish, they get marked. We even know that Bikurim are marked. The first Bikurim have a string tied around them to know which ones to bring to the Beis Hamikdash. So Okud means marked. When Avram was marking Yitzchak near the Mizbeach, he put on the bind saying, "You are now marked as a offering," and that's what he was doing. And that is how Akud and Rugel could be translated. Lo yikshar gemalim zeb zev yimshach. One may not attach camels one to another. Amar Rabba says, Mifnei chashad, because we have a suspicion. Shalai yihil imrim, so people should not say, Ish ploying yatsa lasa is machtam Shabbos. He's going out to do work on Shabbos, leading a whole bunch of animals. Looks like he's doing a whole bunch of work on Shabbos. Asi Yomer, Rav Asi says, that the stipulation is needed regarding the Kalayim, because there could be some of the ropes were made out of linen, some of the ropes made out of wood. That could be a problem. Maybe now, since they're all one string of animals, so that may be considered using Kalayim, so that's a problem. Rabbi Yehuda b'Shem Shmuel, Rabbi Yehuda b'Shem Shmuel says, Miyadai Aser, that if he's the hand in his hand, it's aser. Umitzaver behema mutter. But if it's dangling more from the behema, then it's mutter. Sheila behema mesha b'Shabbos, because the animal is not included in the burdens of Shabbos. Sure, the animals that'll do work. You can't do malacha on Shabbos, but he's not prohibited from the malacha of doing extra burdens. So therefore, if the rope is being carried by the animal, we know if two people carry a rope, it's mutter, right? One person carrying a rope is is usher, and one person carrying a rope in Shurabim is usher. But two people carrying a rope out of Rishuyos or in Rosh Hashanah is mutter. So you and the animal is the same thing. However, it should look like the animal's the one that's doing most of the carrying and not you. Karuch el tzavar behema aser, wrapped around the animal's neck, that's aser. Mishul shosh mitzavar behema mutter, but it dangles the neck, it's mutter. So in other words, if it's around the neck, it looks like that's carrying. The animal's doing all the carrying, basically, and that's full carrying. The fact that you're holding it is nothing, because again, it's no longer a malacha being done by two people. It's really the animal doing everything. Happens to be the end of the rope you happen to be holding. But clearly wrapped around the animal's neck, the animal's doing all the holding. When it's dangling, you're doing the holding. The animal's doing the holding. So now it's mutter. Rav Huna, Rav Yehuda, Shreha, and B'Shem Shmuel. So they both say the name of Shmuel. Chad Amar, one says, Miyada Yasser Mitzavar Behema Mutter, that if it's from one hand is prohibited, but from the animal's neck, then it's permitted. The chorna machlai. The other one says, other one, that from the animal's neck it's prohibited, and from one's hand dangling, that is permitted. So where it should be dangling from is the machlok is there. Man demar miyadiyah. So the one that says that from dangling from one's hand is also mishum masha b'Shabbos, because he's doing a burden on Shabbos, umitzaver behema mutter. But from the animal, dangling from the animal, it's fine. The animal could do the dangling, no problem. She'ein lebehema masha b'Shabbos, because the animal is not allowed to carry, but it can't do extra burden. Since it's just like it's regular carrying, and we're not worried about the burden part of it, so then it's mutter, because again, two people carrying the rope. Well, two people, two things, animal and a person. Uman demar miyadai mutter, and the one that says from the hand is permitted, mifnei sheyefshar, because it is possible to lead the animal this way. So that's the way you lead an animal. Umitzaver behema aser. And when it dangles the animal, it's aser, because now shehu mitzuve al shvius behem toikemayu, because one is commanded that his animals rest on Shabbos and Nemar. It says l'man yenuchu sharichamecha k'moicha, that your ox and donkey have to rest just like you. So therefore, if you're not holding it in a way that's showing you're leading it, then obviously it's doing a malacha. If it's the one that's dangling, that's a problem, because now basically it's the one that's holding the rope. You're holding the rope, sure, but why are you holding the rope? Just because you're helping it out, perhaps, but you're not showing that you're leading it. You have to show that you're leading the animal on Shabbos, and if you don't show that the strap attached to the animal to your hand is not for a purpose to lead it, why are you holding it? You're holding it for no reason. You're just carrying on Shabbos. That's what the other one holds. Tani, they taught in the Brisa, tefach miyadoy letzavar behema. So a tefach from the hand and to the dangling neck, usher is prohibited. So the question is this: Is it if it's a tefach or more, so that it's fine because now you're both holding it. If it's a tefach or less, is fine because no one's really holding anything. It's showing that you're leading the behemoth. So that's the question of Asr. The Gemara is going to explain. Amar Rav Zera says miyadai Asr, from his hand it's Asr. Umitzaver behema Asr, and also from the angle of the neck, it's from the neck of the animal's Asr. Tefach miyadai tzaver behema Asr. A tefach from the animal's neck is Asr. The ein zay he shu mutter. And then what case should be permitted? So when are you allowed to have a rope? Right? We said you're allowed to go with a rope. So if everything's Asr, then when is it mutter? So Amar Rav Yechanan Marmari, he says, man the avid tavus, one who does what is good, and he wishes to avoid any danger. He doesn't do any rope. Nagid la kiyadin susra sarkaya. He pulls the animal as the horse is done by in the sarkaya, which are the Arabians. So he says that's the best practices. But again, it doesn't answer the question. The Mishnah said it's okay. So you can't say everything's usher. Not everything can be usher if the Mishnah says it's okay. So therefore, there's an interpretation saying, what does it mean by the tefach? It means it should always be above a tefach of the ground. The rope should not drag on the ground. If the rope is dragging on the ground, it shows the animal's not leading you and you're not leading the animal. If the point of the animal and you having a rope attached to each other, the point is either you're walking the animal or you're leading the animal. If it's dragging on the ground or it's in the tefach of the ground, now you're just carrying a rope, and that's a problem. And that's where they say is usher. That's what we can learn now. Halacha Dalid. Ein chamar yotzei b'mardras b'zman she'ena kashur loi. A donkey may not go with a set of cloth if it's not tied onto it. V'loi b'zoig af al pi shehu pakuk. And now with a bell, even if it's stopped up. Because again, a bell, especially it is stopped up, now it has no purpose, and now it's just a burden. Obviously, if it's not stopped up, now it's a problem also, ringing a bell on Shabbos. V'loi b'sulam b'tzavarai, and now with a ladder on its neck. What's a sulam? A sulam is a type of structure on its neck that looks like a ladder that basically prevents an injured animal from moving its neck too much. So if it got an injury, either it's going to move to, let's say, lick the wound on its leg or on its body, or the injury was to its neck and you want to keep the neck straight. So it's sort of like a neck brace. V'lai bertsua baraglai, and now with a strap on its leg. So this strap is on its leg is one that just drags, one that drags on the ground. Ein hatarnagos yotzen b'chutin. So chicken also may not go with cords. It's very common for them to run around. They get cords attached to them. You can't let your animals run outside in Yerushalmi with these cords attached to them. And now with a strap tied around their legs so that they could prevent them from running away. Rams when they go with the wagon beneath their tails. I think Gemara can explain. And use me not go out with chanunais. We can explain what that is. And a calf and I go with a giboid. V'loi para ba'id ha-kupad, and a cow may not go with a hedgehog skin. V'loi bertsua bein karneha, no, the strap between its horns. So pasrai shel Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, the cow of Rab Liazar ben Azariah, haisa yaitza bertsua shebein karneha, would go out the strap between her horns. Shalai Kurtzan Chum, not like the will of Chum. Chum said, no, you can't do it. Zakt Gemara, Ein Chamar Yaitse Madras, a donkey may not go off the saddlecloth. Tani, we learned to the Brisa. Aval Mitayel Hu Ba Bechatzer, but a donkey may walk in the courtyard like this. So Rabbi Shmuel B'Shem Shmuel, he says, Afla Inyan Ikov Kain, regarding a saddle too, bills like this, it has to be tied. If it's not tied, it can't go out. Tani, so the Brisa, Yaitsehu Chamar Be'ikov Trelai bishvil lachamkai, that a donkey may go out in public with its saddle in order to keep the animal warm. Avala yikshar esamarsuki. However, he will not go out with it with a breast strap. Lo yafshel as a rutzer takas zanoi. Normally, wants to span the strap beneath the donkey's tail. Rabbi Yirmiyah by Kumi Rab Zera. Rabbi Yirmiyah said and asked before Rab Zera. Minailan Malia. From where do we deduce these matters? That all of a sudden you're saying that it can't go out the breast strap, it can't go out with just a strap suspended between its tail. So it's not. We learned in the Mishnah, Hilchas Shabbos, Kaharim, Hilchas Shabbos like mountains, Tuluyin, Basara that are suspended on thread, on hears, the at Amar Hachin, and yet you say this, and that you start saying things that are also things that are mutter. So Visivne, so Rabbi Yirmiyah challenged Rabbi Zera. So Ma Bein Sulam Lekashoitz, what's in between a ladder splint and a regular splint? Why a regular splint would be okay, but a ladder splint is not okay. Sulam yesh boy mamish. A ladder splint is something. Kishorais ain't boy mamish, but other splints are not. They don't look like a burden. Amar Rav Chini says Visavne, but they challenged, right? Rav Yirmiyah challenged Rav Zera. Ma ben kushais lekame mumche. What's in between the splints and an amulet? So you have an amulet dangling from its neck. Why is that different than the splint is loud and the amulet's not? The Tane learned to the Brisa also the behemoth says b'kameya mumche. An animal cannot go with the kameya mumche with an amulet. Amar Rabbi Avdimi said, Visivne Bodlet Rabbi Yirmiyah challenged Rav Zera that Ma Ben Kishais Laeged Shal Gabe Hamake. What's the difference between a splint and a bandage on a wound? Is Tane, we learned in the Brisa, En Yaitza Bekishurais, that animal may not go out with splints. Is Tane, and this Tane said, yes, it could go out. So what's going on? It could go out, can't go out. What's the din? We're getting too many laws in different places. Amar Rav Chia Bar Adar, Rav Chia Bar Adar says, Tanya Inun. So this is the difference between the Tanoim. Ma Demar Yoitza Mekishros, the one that says animals could go out with splints. Yoitza Be'eged Shal Gabe Amake. Then he go out with a bandage upon a wound. Ma Da Amar En Yoitza Mekishros, the one that said you can't go out with splints. En Yoitza Be'eged Shal Gabe Amake. So they both hold the same thing. It's not like one is different than the other. Okay, splint and wound, okay, or splint and wound, not okay. Ein hascharim yotzin bagala shtachas alya shalahen. Rams may not go out with wagons under their tails with neshu oitzacharetz because it can make a furrow when it drags it along. Ein erechelim yotzais chanunois. They're not going with chanunois. Rabbi Yomi, who says kipa shel tzemer. It's a woolen cap. And with dissenting opinion, Rav Yasa b'shem Rav Chama Bar Chanina, he says that it's ikar hu shmei yachnuna. That it's a root, and the name is Yachnuna. And the root was put on the animal to help it heal, either stuck up its nose to be able to make it sneeze, or to the smell of the root would get rid of bugs or worms. And therefore, we see that something a healing is not allowed to go out. So now we have proof for what? For the Kameya Mumcha. Rab Zera by Kume Rab Yosi that less Hada Amr. So this does not tell us that you also behemol tais b'kamei mumcha, that it can't go out. Kamei mumcha. Kamei mumcha is meant for it to get healed, and it can't go out because if it can't go out the root to get it healed, so therefore it can't go out with the kamei mumcha.